Hi, this is Steve Dann at Long Road Sixth Form College, and I'm just going to narrate this PowerPoint around exams and assessments this summer. So, exams will go ahead as planned this year. This is the second year after the pandemic, and everybody will take the same papers at the same time, and the rules will be the same for everybody. Ofqual have said that they want the exam period this year to be as close to the pre-pandemic normal as possible, although they have recognised that there was disruption to students that are taking exams this year, and so they've put in place grading protection, which I shall explain later. Key things I want you to get out of this presentation are being prepared for the exams and not getting caught out and creating more stress for yourselves. So this involves having a good understanding of your timetable, where your exam is being held, what you can and can't take into each assessment. That includes where to put your mobile phone and any other smart devices, and that if you're unsure about anything, make sure you check with us before the exams. We've sent out a statement of entry to every student. It's been emailed to you. Make sure you save that email and make note of its contents. Read the whole thing carefully. It is not just a timetable, it contains other information as well. Put the exam dates in your diary or calendar or anywhere you're going to see it on the fridge door. Make sure that you don't get caught out, as some students do every year, by coming at the wrong time, either early or late. If you think you're entitled to access arrangements, for example extra time, and it's not listed on the exam statement, then please seek academic support urgently. So your statement looks something like this. It will have your subject, the exact paper you're sitting, the date, the start, end times, the room, and the actual seat that you'll be sat in. So in this example, P7 will be row P, seat 7 from the front, and it'll be in the sports hall. Most of our exams are in the sports hall or the LRC, but we also use a number of other classrooms around college. For example, you can see that this one has got C14 written down. Please make sure that you know where those classrooms are. Check them out before your exam so you know where it is that you've got to go to. The start times are the same for morning and afternoon exams each day. So it's 9 AM for morning exams and 1:45 for afternoon exams, unless otherwise stated. Now that doesn't mean arrive at 9 AM, nor does it mean necessarily that you'll start writing at 9 AM, but we would want everybody to be sat in the room, ready for instructions and ready to start at those times. So for the morning, we'd like you to arrive at 8:45, and in the afternoon at 1:30 for the 1:45 exams. If you arrive after 10 o'clock in the morning, for the morning, or after 2:30 in the afternoon, you will not be allowed into the exam room. In the same way, you will not be allowed to leave the exam room before those times either. That ensures that nobody has gone into the exam room, checked a paper, put the answers on the internet or the questions on the internet, and somebody else has gone in late to exam with that information. So you must be ready to begin the exam at the scheduled start time. You should also bring photographic ID with you, your college card, please, so that you can confirm your identity when you go into the exam. If you forget that, we still can confirm your identity. We have pictures of you, but it will slow the start down. And again, that delays it for everybody in the room. Bring a copy of the statement of entry with you, because if there is a problem or you're in the wrong place, that'll be the first thing we want to check. If you completely forget all of those things on the day, you need to go to the reception or student services, and they will be able to look up on the computer where you're meant to be. However, again, this will delay the start of the exam and increase stress for you, and will take a little time to do so. Please don't go and try to find your teachers or somebody else in college. Go to reception or student services, and they will look up where exactly you're meant to be. Parking on site remains limited, but during exam periods, we do accept that students may need to park on site. And if you've got an exam on that day, you will be allowed to come on to the parking area as long as you arrive at those times, so before those starts of the exams, and that you have your statement of entry and can show anybody at the barrier or reception that you have an exam that day, and that's why you're being allowed to. If you're absent and can't attend the exam, you must phone the college. Don't send an email to teachers, phone the college and explain that you should be having an exam and are ill. If you think you're unable to attend more than one exam, please call on the day of each exam you're unable to attend. Please note, exams cannot be rescheduled. You cannot sit an exam on a different day or a different time. If you do miss an exam, we may be able to apply for special consideration, but you have to have a genuine reason for the absence and you have to have evidence of why you missed the exam. In those circumstances, as long as you have sat some of the assessments for that subject, you may still be able to get an overall mark. In other cases, if you cannot prove it, you may score 0. Access arrangements, things like extra time, scribes. All of these should now have been agreed and set up. It is too late to start applying for those now, and we have to apply to the exam boards for those, and that deadline passed before Easter. One area that we need to explain is that around separate invigilation and smaller rooms. We have had a big increase in the number of students that have requested sitting in smaller rooms because of things like anxiety, which we understand, having not set exams before. However, we are limited in the number of rooms that we have available and the number of invigilators that we have available, and cannot meet all of those requests. If you are entitled separate invigilation, that is usually because there is some need that involves disturbing other students. For example, you've got to dictate your answers, or someone has got to read things out to you, something that would mean you can't really be in a room with other students. For students with extreme exam anxiety, we can place you in a room other than the main exam room, but that won't be on your own. It may be with a number of other students, but it'll be a slightly smaller environment than the main sports hall. What we would normally say is that an alternative room is somewhere like the LRC or smaller, like a classroom. Again, the best thing to do is look at your exam timetable and go and check those rooms out so that you can visualize exactly where it is you're going to be. You may find that if you're in a room like that, there are lots of students in there, or a number of students in there, with different arrangements and access arrangements. For example, rest breaks at different times or different lengths of exam, coloured papers, etc. Those do take a little bit longer to get set up. Sometimes the starts of those exams is a little bit delayed because we're dealing with a number of different access arrangements in the same place. So just be patient with that, and we'll make sure that everyone gets a fair experience. If something happens at the time of the exams, the most obvious one is someone breaks their hand or injures a hand during a sporting activity, then phone the college as soon as possible. We have some contingency available where we can to try and make sure that you can still take the exams. We would also put in for special consideration where that's applicable. Taking the right equipment into an exam is really important. Again, it can delay the exam if you don't have that correctly, and again cause more stress. So some quick ones here. If you're taking water in, it needs to be clear, i.e. clear water, not the drink. It needs to be in a clear bottle with no label on it, and you can take that in, that's okay. If you take a calculator, and just check that you're allowed a calculator. Most exams will allow a calculator, except for some of the maths ones which say it's a non-calculator paper. But you can have a exam ready calculator, as long as it can't communicate, can't store information on it. It can be a scientific one, but it can't have a case. That's a new rule. So again, to stop people from writing answers or something in the cases. They've stipulated no cases are allowed. In your pencil case, which should be transparent, you need to have everything that you need, and that means black pens, because the exam boards often scan these papers and black pens show up, so they ask that they are written in black pen. Bring whatever else you think you might need, usually a ruler, maybe some protractor or something else like that, whatever it is that you need in a transparent pencil case, please. Definitely not allowed into the exam room any sort of mobile device that can transmit or receive, so mobile phones. Now, smartwatches were banned a few years ago. Now there are no watches at all because it's increasingly difficult to tell which is a smartwatch and which is an analog watch. So they say no watches in exam rooms at all. There will be clocks on the wall, and we will make sure that there are digital and analog clocks, just in terms of preference. And one that has cropped up in recent years is students going into the exams with earbuds in and forgetting that they've got them in. And again, that can lead to disqualification from the exam. So if you're used to wearing that, then please check before you go in, especially if you've got long hair and we can't see it as you go in. We have had that happen. So I mentioned special consideration. This is something we can apply for to the exam boards if something goes wrong at the time of the exam and means you can't take it or it affects your performance in some way. It has to be something that happens around the time of the exam, so you can't ask for special consideration for something that happened years ago. And the number of extra marks available is quite small. It's usually around 2 or 3% of the overall marks for that exam paper. 5% is the absolute maximum that can be awarded in terms of significant trauma or something that's happened right around the time of the exams. If you think that does apply to you, and again, this policy and all the details on that are on our website, then please contact exams as soon as possible. You can't do it retrospectively after the results have come out or much later on. We have to put it in at the time of the exam. We would have to provide evidence to the exam boards. So after your exams have been completed, they're all sent off to the exam boards, and this is the bit that they're talking about with the grade boundaries. What they're going to do this year, and they do it every year to be honest, is that they wait until everything has been marked, they look at all the marks, and then they set the grade boundaries. So we don't know what those grade boundaries are going to be. They might not be the same as the grade boundaries you've been using in assessments in class, for example. That's the way that they will make sure that the year is treated fairly, and what they've said is there's no quota of grades, and that they are trying to get the proportions of grades to similar sorts of levels that were seen in 2019 before the pandemic. What that means effectively is that if you were likely to have got a grade A pre-pandemic, then you are likely to achieve a grade A this year. And they will look at the grade boundaries and adjust them to make sure that that happens. The other thing they've done with the post-pandemic arrangements, other than stretching the exams out over a bit of a longer period, is to build in some contingency days. And this is what the government have asked for and have asked that the exam boards do. They ask them to put aside some time whereby if there is another national lockdown or disturbance, then there are days in which exams could be moved to. Now, I have to stress, this is not a contingency for individual exams. So if you miss an exam, it can't be taken on one of these exam days. It would have to be if all of the exams in the country were cancelled on a particular day or over a couple of days, and these are the dates that they would use to reschedule them. That means that if you were planning to go away straight after your exams, it's just possible that the 28th of June, which is at the end of the exam series, could still be an exam day. It's very, very unlikely, but the advice is not to go away until the 28th of June. So the results days are on the 17th of August and the 24th of August, and we will be emailing out the results. You don't come in and collect them. They come to us from the exam boards in a variety of formats. We have to collect them all together, put them with your details, check them all off, and then we will email them out to you. Please don't email us in first thing in the morning. We'll be in the process of doing that, and the servers do take a little while to send them all out. For more information, you can check on the college website. There's the policies, details, as well as this presentation, and you can check the Ofqual Student Guide for 2023 and the Guide for Exam Pressure as well. So it just leaves me to say good luck. Being prepared will reduce your stress massively, making sure that you're in the right place at the right time with the right equipment, knowing exactly which paper it is that you're going to be sat, and that's going to really help you feel like you're in control. Good luck with everything. We know you can do it.